Did you know that being too nice could actually be holding you back from true happiness and fulfillment? In our constant pursuit to be liked and accepted, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of endless giving, forgetting to draw the line where generosity ends and self-neglect begins. Today, we're going to explore how Buddhist principles can teach us the art of balanced living, how to give without losing ourselves in the process. As we dive into this discussion, remember, every moment we spend learning how to balance our kindness with self-respect is a step towards a more peaceful and fulfilling life. If you find value in these insights, a simple click on the subscribe button can help us share more of these life-enhancing strategies with you. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single part of this discussion because every minute is packed with transformative ideas that might just change the way you interact with the world around you. So, stick around as we learn from ancient wisdom how to honor our boundaries while nurturing the connections that truly matter. Let's get started on this journey to self-awareness and mindful living. Navigating the thin line between generosity and self-neglect is something many of us struggle with in our daily lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of saying yes to every request, be it from colleagues, friends, or family. This desire to always be the helper can lead us down a path where our own needs are consistently placed on the back burner. While the intention behind our actions might be pure, the reality is that an unbalanced approach to kindness can lead to stress, burnout, and a loss of self. Buddhism, with its profound teachings on the middle way, offers a valuable perspective on finding balance. The middle way teaches us to avoid extremes, promoting a path of moderation and mindfulness in all aspects of life. This concept is especially relevant when we consider how we manage our relationships and personal energy. By adhering to this path, we learn to give without depleting our own resources, recognizing that our well-being is as important as that of those around us. Let's explore a scenario that might sound familiar. You're at work and your plate is already full with your own tasks. Then a colleague asks for help on a project. You say yes because you want to be seen as cooperative and helpful. Initially, it feels good to be needed, but as this pattern repeats, you find your own work suffering, your stress levels rising, and your energy dwindling. Here, Buddhism doesn't just suggest, but insists on the importance of wisdom in generosity. It asks us to be mindful of our capacity and to give in ways that are sustainable, not just in the moment, but in the long run. Moreover, the Buddhist concept of self-awareness is crucial here. It teaches us to pause and reflect on our motivations for being overly accommodating. Are we seeking approval, afraid of conflict, or perhaps trying to maintain an image of indispensability? These reflections can reveal deeper insecurities that drive us to compromise our own health and happiness for the sake of others' approval. The teachings guide us to a healthier mindset, where we value ourselves enough to set boundaries and respect our own limits. This self-respect is not about saying no to all requests, but rather about developing the discernment to know when a yes is truly beneficial and when it might be harmful to our well-being. It's about understanding and communicating our capacities honestly, which not only preserves our energy, but also builds more authentic and respectful relationships. When we operate from a place of true balance, we are better equipped to support others without harming ourselves. Practicing this can start with small steps. It could be as simple as asking for a deadline extension when you're overwhelmed, or choosing to decline an invitation when you need time to recharge. Each act of mindful decision-making reinforces the idea of the middle way and brings us closer to a life of harmony and less stress. As we continue on this path, we gradually learn to replace guilt with understanding and fear of rejection with confidence in our self-worth. This transformation is not overnight, but each step forward is a step towards a more balanced and fulfilling life. Buddhism doesn't just provide us with the theory, but offers practical applications that can transform our daily interactions and lead to profound personal growth. Setting boundaries is much like tending to a personal garden. It's about nurturing what grows, pruning what doesn't serve us, and protecting the space from being overrun. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of maintaining personal boundaries is essential for developing self-respect and peace. It's about recognizing that our mental and emotional resources are finite and treating them with the same care and reverence as sacred space. In Buddhism, there is a deep respect for the principle of self-care, rooted in the belief that inner peace leads to outer peace. This philosophy teaches us that without clear boundaries, our lives can become chaotic, leaving us feeling depleted and stressed. It's similar to a garden left unattended. Without boundaries, everything from weeds to wild animals can come in, taking away the nutrients and space needed for the plants we want to thrive. When we talk about setting boundaries, we're really talking about the courage to honor our own needs and limits. It's not selfish to set boundaries. It's actually a profound act of self-compassion. Buddha taught that compassion starts with oneself. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and by guarding our energies, we ensure we have enough to give to others in a way that is healthy and sustainable. So, how do we begin to set these boundaries? It starts with self-awareness. We need to understand what we value, our limits, and how much we can give without feeling resentment or exhaustion. It's about being mindful of our interactions and the energy we allow into our personal space. This mindfulness, a key component of Buddhist practice, involves observing our emotions and reactions without judgment, which can inform us when a boundary needs to be set. For instance, if you find yourself feeling consistently drained after interactions with a particular person, it may be a sign that the emotional demands are too high and a boundary is needed. This doesn't necessarily mean cutting off relationships or interactions. Rather, it could involve setting limits on the amount of time you spend, the kind of support you offer, or even how emotionally invested you become. Implementing these boundaries can be challenging, especially if we fear the reactions of others. However, the Buddhist path teaches us that our true nature is not defined by others' opinions or expectations. By gently but firmly setting boundaries, we are asserting that our well-being is a priority, which can lead to greater respect from others and deeper, more genuine relationships. It's also important to regularly revisit and adjust boundaries as our lives and relationships evolve. What works at one stage of our life may not be appropriate in another. Just like a garden that changes with the seasons, our emotional and mental boundaries need to be adaptable. In practicing these principles, we not only protect our energy and well-being, but also cultivate a space where our best selves can flourish. This is the true essence of living a life aligned with Buddhist teachings, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and maintaining harmony within ourselves so we can extend it outward. It's easy to fall into the habit of constantly seeking others' approval. This relentless pursuit often stems from early experiences where we learn that our value is linked directly to how much others appreciate us. We've all felt that surge of satisfaction when our efforts are recognized and praised. But what happens when that praise becomes the primary source of our self-worth? This is where we find ourselves giving more than we have, exhausting our reserves just to hear that well done or see that nod of approval. Buddhism teaches us about the danger of this attachment to external validation. According to Buddhist thought, the pursuit of approval can lead to a cycle of dependency that detracts from our true nature and personal growth. This cycle can be particularly destructive because it shifts our focus from internal development to external validation, causing us to lose touch with our own values and ethics. Instead of acting in accordance with what we genuinely believe to be right or fulfilling, we perform roles that are expected of us, often ignoring our own needs and desires in the process. The concept of anatta, or non-self in Buddhism, challenges us to look beyond the ego and the self that craves recognition. It encourages us to see that this self, the one that needs constant affirmation, is an illusion, transient and ever-changing. By understanding anatta, we learn to lessen our attachment to this self and its insatiable needs, which includes the need for external approval. As we practice this detachment, we begin to find a sense of peace and stability that is not at the mercy of others' opinions and moods. Moreover, Buddhism highlights the importance of self-validation and intrinsic motivation. The Dharma teaches that peace comes from within, not from the accolades or criticisms of others. By turning our attention inward and focusing on personal integrity and self-awareness, we cultivate a stronger sense of self that does not rely on external sources for happiness or validation. This inward focus empowers us to act in ways that are harmonious with our deep-seated beliefs, rather than conforming to what we think others expect of us. In practical terms, detaching from the need for approval requires mindfulness and awareness. It involves recognizing moments when our actions are driven by a desire to please or impress others, rather than by what is genuinely best for us or aligned with our values. It also means being mindful of the impermanent nature of praise and criticism alike. Just as a compliment does not define you, neither does a critique. Each is simply a passing cloud in the vast sky of our experiences, not something to build a foundation upon. Furthermore, cultivating self-compassion is crucial in this process. As we lessen our dependence on external approval, we must also learn to be kind and forgiving to ourselves. Self-compassion allows us to accept our imperfections and acknowledge our efforts without harsh judgment or self-criticism. It encourages us to celebrate our progress and recognize our efforts, even when they go unnoticed by others. To truly free ourselves from the trap of seeking approval, we must also embrace the practice of living authentically. This means making choices that resonate with our core beliefs and expressing ourselves honestly and openly, irrespective of how we think others might react. It's about having the courage to be true to ourselves in a world that constantly tries to shape us into something else. In our quest for harmony and connection, it's crucial that we approach our relationships with the same mindfulness and intention we bring to other areas of our lives. Buddhism emphasizes the value of Sangha, or community, highlighting how vital it is to surround ourselves with those who support our growth and well-being. It's here, in the interplay of give and take, that the true essence of balanced relationships comes into focus. Think of each relationship as a seedling. For it to flourish, it requires a nourishing environment, regular attention, and mutual care. But what happens when a plant is left in barren soil, or when it receives water but no sunlight? It struggles to survive, and often, despite all our efforts, it fails to thrive. Similarly, when we invest our time and emotions into connections that are unreciprocating, we are like gardeners watering a patch of dead earth. This is why Buddhist teachings urge us to practice discernment in our interactions. By choosing to engage with those who also invest in us, we foster relationships that are not only reciprocal, but also regenerative. Moreover, discernment isn't about judging others harshly, but understanding the natural balance of relationships. In Buddhism, there's a profound teaching about the middle way, which advocates for a balanced approach to life, avoiding extremes. This philosophy can be beautifully applied to how we manage our social bonds. If we notice ourselves always on the giving end, it might be time to reassess and recalibrate. Are these relationships serving us as well as we are serving them? If not, it might be time to introduce some boundaries. Boundaries don't mean erecting walls or shutting people out. Instead, they're like guidelines we set on how others can treat us, what we are willing to accept, and how much of ourselves we are willing to share. They help us preserve our emotional energy and keep our spirit intact. Gautama Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This is a call to recognize our own worth and ensure that the relationships we maintain echo this respect and love back to us. It's also vital to reflect on the nature of the relationships we treasure. Do they encourage our growth, or do they keep us tethered to the ground? Just as a tree grows toward the light, so too should our relationships propel us forward, encouraging us to reach new heights. When we engage with people who understand and appreciate our journey, our conversations and interactions become enriching experiences, each one adding a layer of joy and insight to our lives. Let's also consider the role of compassion in nurturing our connections. Compassion is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, feeling with and for others. When applied to relationships, compassion allows us to be present with others in their times of need, without losing ourselves in the process. It helps us offer support that is mindful and respectful of both parties' boundaries. In practice, cultivating balanced relationships means taking inventory of our current connections. Which ones leave us feeling energized? Which ones leave us depleted? It's about choosing to invest more deeply in the former and reconsidering or redefining our engagement with the latter. This doesn't mean abandoning people during tough times, but rather recognizing when a relationship is fundamentally imbalanced and addressing this in a way that is honest and caring. Saying no might often feel uncomfortable, especially in a world that seems to constantly demand more from us. Yet, it is one of the most profound practices in self-care and mindfulness that Buddhism teaches. It's about understanding and setting your limits, recognizing that every no offers a yes to something else, perhaps a yes to rest, to personal space, or to the pursuit of your own interests. Buddhism places great emphasis on the concept of mindful living, which involves being acutely aware of how our actions resonate through our lives and the lives of others. When we mindlessly agree to every request, our actions may say yes, but our spirits often feel a resounding no. Each time we honor this inner voice and set boundaries, we are practicing a key Buddhist principle, the middle path. This path teaches us to avoid extremes, encouraging a life that fosters balance and harmony between giving to others and giving to ourselves. When you find the courage to say no, you're not just conserving your physical energy, you're also preserving your mental and emotional well-being. Think about the last time you agreed to something reluctantly. Did you feel at peace with your decision, or did it create inner turmoil? Often, the distress we feel from overcommitting is a signal from our deeper self, telling us that our equilibrium is off. By saying no, we respect that internal guide, prioritizing our well-being and aligning our actions with our true capacity. Moreover, when we assertively say no, we teach others about our values and our limits. This is crucial in fostering relationships that are not only respectful, but also genuinely supportive. Relationships thrive under mutual understanding and respect, and by clearly communicating our boundaries, we help others understand the best ways to interact with us. It removes ambiguity and sets a clear framework within which healthy interactions can occur. This practice also leads to greater self-respect. In Buddhism, respecting oneself is as important as respecting others. The Buddha taught that we cannot truly love and serve others if we do not first love and serve ourselves. Each act of saying no can be seen as an act of self-love. It is a declaration that you value your own needs and are willing to protect them. This self-respect then radiates outward, inviting others to treat you with the same level of respect. Additionally, saying no can be a profound practice of mindfulness. It forces us to pause and evaluate the situation at hand, rather than operating on autopilot. This moment of pause is an opportunity to reflect. Does this request align with my values? Will this add to my life or detract from it? Is there a genuine need for my involvement? By engaging in this reflection, we practice mindfulness, making decisions that are thoughtful and deliberate. Ultimately, learning to say no is not about turning away opportunities or shutting out relationships. It is about making conscious choices that support your well-being and allow you to engage with the world in a more meaningful and sustainable way. Just as a tree conserves its resources during the harsh winter months to bloom in the spring, we too must conserve our energies at times to ensure we can fully engage in moments that truly matter. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Remember, every time you say no, you're not just looking out for yourself. You're setting the stage for a healthier, more balanced life. It's a practice that enhances not only your own peace, but also enriches the lives around you with the beauty of mindful living. If you're curious to explore more about how Buddhist teachings can transform other areas of your life, check out the suggested videos on your screen. Dive deeper and continue to grow with us on this enlightening path. Thank you for being a part of this Buddhist journey, and until next time, may you find peace and strength in every choice you make. Namaste.